Hey everybody, how you doing? I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World, and a lot of you have seen a new member of Your Black Women, the women that support what we do and that have a strong voice in the community. Her name is Cynthia G. That's the name she goes by, and she's done some really interesting videos on a multitude of topics that I thought were really impressive, very thought provoking. They drove conversations on important issues, and you can say a lot of things about her, but you can't say she's stupid because that's certainly not true. And so before I begin, without further ado, I want to ask Cynthia, how you doing today?
I'm good. How about yourself?
I'm doing really well. Now you're in the car, so you're literally in transit as we do this interview, huh?
I am, but hopefully, if they can see any of the scenery, Seattle is actually a beautiful city. So,
Mm. You know, the most I know about the city of Seattle is that I watched the show Frasier for like 10 years straight. so that so that was my biggest Seattle experience, other than obvious, the big stuff like Starbucks and stuff like that. But and I went to Seattle. I think I went to Seattle when I was actually recruited for my job at Syracuse in Seattle. I was
oh
at
wow,
yeah, I was at the finance doctoral student meetings or something, and a guy from Syracuse recruited me, and it was interesting because Seattle and Syracuse, I think one thing they have in common is that both of those cities have weather that drives like among the highest suicide rates in the country because the weather's so crazy in both places. Like a lot of rain
yeah.
in Seattle and a lot of snow in Syracuse. So so I ended up spending a lot of years in Syracuse because I was in Seattle at that time, which is crazy, right? Um, so anyway, enough about me. Enough about me. Let's jump into you and your background. Now, first, I want before we get to the topic we're going to hit on, I want to ask you. What's this week been like for you? You sent me the videos, and I get a lot of videos in my email, but I saw your video, and I was like, this is really good. So I shared it and pushed it around, and now it's been viewed by tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people. Now, I don't know if that's happened before, but what was that like to kind of suddenly have all these people sort of responding to what you were saying?
It was actually really great. I know there's obviously everyone's not going to be happy with what you're doing, but I got a big outpouring of love. I got a lot of messages on Facebook. Got a lot of subscribers and a lot of comments about the acceptance of the video and the content and how it's needed in the Black community and how we really need empowering, uplifting messages. So I was actually really happy about that.
Okay, good, good. I'm glad you took it took it favorably because as you know, the comments are not all going to be in the same direction, right? You're going to have the people that say, "Oh, I love it, it's great," and then you're going to have people that are going to say, "You need to die. If you don't die, I'm going to kill you because I hate you so much." You know what I mean? So you were pretty much able to kind of look past the negative and you saw the positive, right? So that's kind of driven you, huh?
I've gotten a lot of negative, but I don't think about it beyond doing reading it basically. My main goal is to make the content so that it'll reach the people that it's meant to reach, and I know that's not going to be everyone. Even if you take it back to during the civil rights movement, when a lot of our big leaders, when they were trying to get that movement going, everyone wasn't on board. So I know everyone's not going to agree with the content, everyone's not going to accept it. There will be a little bit of backlash, but I pay attention to the positivity and the people who do get it and the people who do request that I put out more content. And it actually is the main reason why I keep doing it, is because I know it is going to start having an impact, and it is going to get people to, at the very least, think about what I'm saying and consider, everything that's going on, and maybe look at our current situation um, from a different perspective.
Well, I thought it was great. Even if I don't agree with something, I know a strong opinion from a weak one. I know a researched opinion from one that's not researched, a thoughtful opinion from one that isn't, thought out at all. And I felt like a lot of what you said was very well thought out, and I think that's what a lot of people pick up on. The people that were messaging me and saying, "Oh, I love that lady on your page. I looked her up. I went to go find her," and I think these are people that were just looking for something different. And what we find, I unfortunately, is that in our community, in terms of, I guess the strongest voices, black women kind of get pushed to the side, by some of the leaders we admire the most. They don't really seem to let women sit at the table. In fact, I remember, kind of meeting with someone, a pretty well respected black man, at an event. and my manager is a woman, and she was going to work with him on my behalf, and she got absolute hell from the men that worked with him. They just didn't. It was almost like they just didn't see her as an equal, and it kind of blew my mind because I thought, well, she represents me, so you treat her like you treat me, but they didn't. If I walked in the room, I got a different kind of reaction. If it was just her, it was totally the opposite, and it really upset me, and it really made me more sensitive to some of this sexism that's kind of out here. What are your thoughts on that? When you see men that you respect in the black community that don't seem to really treat you the way you should be treated as a woman and as an authentic voice.
I think it's very detrimental to the community as a whole. You can't typecast every black woman. And I notice that a lot, even with what I get. I get a lot of messages saying that you hate black men, you're bitter, you're just angry because you can't find a man. So, whenever I feel like whenever a black woman says something, even if she's saying the exact same thing as a man, we're always typecast as being angry or being bitter for saying it. And to me, that is very detrimental because if you can look past all of your stereotypes of what you think a black woman should be and listen to the message, then we can actually work together and then empower the masses. So I just think in general that's very detrimental, and it takes away from an opportunity that we could actually embark on that would be powerful.
So let me ask you this, Cynthia. People talk about that image of the angry black woman, right? And everybody kind of wants to I guess avoid that label, and or maybe people who want to come after you might strap that label on you unfairly. But I'm curious, uh, are there legitimate reasons for black women to be angry? I mean, as Malcolm X said, the black woman is the most unprotected group of people in the country. Black women go through so much trauma, abuse in many cases at the hands of black men, which again I think has its roots in racism, white supremacy, and oppression,
Mhm.
right? But with putting that aside for a second, black women go through a lot. Um, if a black woman has reason to be angry, what's wrong with being angry?
I think that society tells black women that you are not able to be angry. I think that we are told that we need to absorb everything, and we need to absorb it, and then we need to absorb it with a smile on our face. I think although we have very valid reasons, it's not seen as a valid reason when it comes from a black woman. For example, if you take a white woman and she's looks like she may have a scar on her face. People are going to ask her what's wrong, what happened to her. They're going to inquire as to what caused her to have a scar on her face or frowned. If a black woman does it, they're going to immediately typecast her as, oh, she's just angry because she's black, or oh, she's just aggressive before she's black. We don't get empathy, we don't get sympathy, we just get the stigma of it. Our reasons for being angry aren't seen, I don't feel, as valid reasons. I think people don't look at what we're going through. We as black women, we not only have to deal with the racism, but we also have to deal with the sexism. So we're not only getting oppression from white men and white women, we're also getting it from our black counterparts. And so I think that's what a lot of people don't take into consideration. Oftentimes we don't feel like we have the support and protection of the black man, but we still have to go out and deal with everything that he has to deal with and some, because there's certain things a man doesn't have to deal with that a woman has to. So I just think that people tend to downplay exactly what black women go through, and we get zero empathy for it.
Interesting. So, how does that translate to the workplace? I mean, you're in the workplace. Let's say, like so many millions of black people, let's say you go to work every day and you're surrounded by people who don't look like you, and you're being mistreated for being black and for being a woman, and then you react to that naturally, the way anybody would react to injustice. What's that kind of like? Going to the corporate plantation every day as an angry black woman. I mean, from not just from what you've seen yourself, but just in general.
It has an effect on me on a psychological level. It makes me feel suffocated. It makes me feel like there's literally no hope in the world. That's how deep it is. anytime we have an issue and I can just sit and express that issue normally, I can express it very calmly, and I'm still asked, why are you angry? I'm still asked, why are you being aggressive? We don't get heard as a Black woman, especially in the corporate world. Although we have to perform 10 times harder than the other ones, we're getting nitpicked and pulled apart, more so than anyone else in there. Even with my personal experience that I'm going through, it's always a situation where as a Black woman, I'm going through probably 10 times worse than anyone else is going through in the company, sometimes even including Black men. Because if it's a predominantly white company with white women, that Black man still may not experience what the Black woman is experiencing, just based solely off the white woman's attraction to that man. The Black women don't have that advantage. We don't have an advantage to where we may be liked by the woman if they're running the company. 9 times out of 10, we're not liked by the woman, and we're going to be treated like we don't like our voice, like we're not liked. Our voices aren't going to be heard. We're going to be told we need to be quiet. If we do speak up, then it's not even about if you're getting put out of there. It's more about when you're going to be put out of the company and what you're going to go through in that process of being put out of the company. So that it's a very real issue, especially in corporate America. And I know a lot of people, when it comes to women, I think they don't understand exactly how big of a problem it is. Number one, we have a lot of things that we have to do with changing our image. We have to conform a lot to white society standards in order to even get the job. Once you get the job, that's a whole different beast that you have to tackle. But first you have to get it. So if we're going in there, chances are we have to downplay our image considerably, because we have to appear in a way that um, white people are intimidated. Because initially with Black people, they're extremely intimidated by you. So you're going to have to soften up your tone. You're going to have to appear a certain way. You basically have to put on a persona that is not your persona. It has to be a persona that is more appealing to white people and less threatening, so that you can even get the job. Once you get the job, you still have to jump through a lot of hoops to even keep it. You're constantly trying to disprove a stereotype against you that you don't even fit to begin with. So you can't be yourself. You no longer have your own identity. You have to play up this identity that makes white people feel less threatened. And the minute that there's an issue when you speak out of it, you automatically become that angry, bitter Black woman.
It's interesting. I remember the first time I became aware of how I was perceived as a black man. It was actually the second or third incident that occurred that kind of opened my eyes. But one in particular was I was in line to register for classes when I was in undergraduate. I was about 19 years old, and back then we had long lines to register. They'd go literally down the street, up the block, up the stairs, around the building. So you'd wait 2 or 3 hours to get to the front of the line, and I'd paid. My registration had been held up because I owed the library like $10 or something. So I paid it before I got in the line, but for some reason the computer hadn't registered that I had paid this money. So I got all the way to the front of the line, and they said, I'm sorry, but you can't register for classes. So I remember I was like, but I paid that fine. I paid it, and I was pretty upset, but I didn't think I was going crazy. And I remember I stopped for a second and I looked around, and all these white people were staring at me. Like it was almost like they thought I was gonna strap and pull my shirt open and pull out a bomb, or you know what I mean, or pull out a gun or something. Like they,
Mm-hmm.
they really they were afraid of me. And I was like, what's everybody scared of? I'm just upset like anybody would be. And so I don't know if that was because I was black, but it was sort of the beginning of kind of knowing just how you're perceived differently if you are black. Another piece that I thought about, and maybe you can ask me what you think on this, but my theory as well is that when we get in these workspaces, these places were not really built for us. Many of these companies exist because some white person a long time ago built a business with his friends that was for his children. And we're kind of these uninvited guests in a lot of ways. They have federal laws that require them to hire us. And even then they hire one out of 50, and expect you to be satisfied with that. Um, I think that teaching black children entrepreneurship is a great way to create an alternative avenue for them. It's all because I don't think that there's much. solution in terms of us learning how to teach them to survive, or teaching them how to survive in dysfunction. You know, like here's how you go into a racist environment where everyone hates you and not want to kill yourself. That's not a winning. That's You're not winning. You know, with that
No,
solution,
you're not.
you've got to have a different pathway. What do you think about that?
I think what a lot of people don't understand is that a lot of white people and corporations are just merely tolerating us because they feel like they have to. And you can always get a sense of that by looking at that company. For example, the company that I worked for, there are no black women in upper management positions. There are none. There aren't really any black men in upper management positions. And the ones that are chances are a half black man. I have a man that's half black and half white. So in a lot of these companies that you go through, you can see the company culture just by looking at whether or not the company is diverse. And so that lets me know that I'm actually not welcome there. I think a lot of people don't understand that we're only being tolerated. And I think as the climate of America becomes more racially what I can't even think of the
Racially diverse.
no, because right now we're in a very we're in a very aggressive racial climate right now. And I think as we get more into that, I think white people are going to start showing more and more and being emboldened by what's going on because when they look at situations, like for example, with everything that happens with Mike Brown and Tamir Rice, when you, as a person, just in general, when you see that someone is able to act in certain behavior and get away with it, that's going to embolden you to act in that same behavior. So I think the fact that right now we're in a climate where racially white supremacy is prevailing without consequence, I think that's actually going to start making companies and company heads and bosses start being emboldened to show exactly what they feel about black people. And I experience this every day at work. When I walk in there, it's a very stressful situation. I don't feel welcome. I don't feel like I have the same rights as everyone else. And I think that Black people as a community, we do need to realize that, and we need to start empowering our own community so that we do have different outlets. Because right now, if white people decided that they didn't want to work with us at all, we would have nothing. A lot of us would be homeless. We wouldn't eat on a daily basis. We would have no money. We wouldn't be able to survive at all if white people decided one day they didn't want to let us work for them. And that's why I say they're merely tolerating us, and only because there are specific laws right now that says they have to. But there are still loopholes to those laws that says that, like the at will employment law, while we do have affirmative action that says that you do have to employ black people, we also have a law that says you can fire them for any reason and you don't have to give them reason for it. And a lot of people, especially black people, are not aware of these laws. And white people do actually count on your ignorance to specific laws, which actually gives them leeway to discriminate. And so even when you do go into a job, which is what I experience every day, if you speak out in the least, you can guarantee that your time there is going to be very short.
Absolutely. Wow. Well, I think you hit the nail on the head. And I love that you handled this interview so well. You actually got out of the car and switched seats and everything, and
Yes,
and that,
there's
and
some multitasking ability for right there.
I'm really impressed because I want you guys to know this is the first interview Cynthia's done with me, so it's this is kind of new for her. But as you can see, she's easing right into the process, and I assume we're gonna see more from you. You're gonna keep doing videos and all kinds of cool stuff like that, right?
Absolutely. I'm actually working on a couple of them right now. What I always have to go through a process where I meditate and then I think a lot, and then whatever ideas come to my mind, I write them down and then start formulating the next video. So I'm actually in the process of doing that right now, and I'm trying to get more content out sooner rather than just putting out one or two videos a week. I'm trying to do more, like maybe four or five, at least one every day. Um, and so I'm currently working on some topics.
All right. Well, I can't wait to see it, and we'll share everything, with our viewers as well, because I think Cynthia is a person that you want to listen to, and those of you who don't agree with some of the things she says, I want you to see. Don't see things in black and white. See them in shades of gray. Just think critically, and just realize that you're not going to agree with everybody, but you got to respect people who are trying to do the right thing. So I want to say thank you, Cynthia. I appreciate your time.
No, no problem. And I'm my thing that I just want everyone to know, even if you don't like some of the message, understand that this is coming from a person that has a deep passion and desire to empower the Black community, regardless to what I say. That is my ultimate goal. Um, and with that, I'll say thank you.
All right, absolutely. Well, yeah, it is funny because even then, there are going to be people that are still going to be mad, but they can just be mad. But hey, it is what it is. Well, thank you. I appreciate your time, Cynthia. It was a pleasure speaking with you.
You as well. Thank you.
All right. Well, everybody, this is Cynthia G, and she's doing amazing stuff, and you can see her videos all over the place. And does your YouTube channel have a name? Like, is it Cynthia YouTube.com/ Cynthia G?
It is.
Okay.
That's and I actually need to go on there. I'm gonna go on there and work on it and update it. But exact, you can find me at Cynthia G on YouTube.
Okay. All right. So go look her up. And me, I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World. So until we meet again, please stay strong, be blessed, and be educated. We are gone. Peace.